Namaskar, and a very hearty good evening to all of you, to the entire Corrosion fraternity who is actually attending the program physically over here, and all of you who have joined us virtually from Zoom, from LinkedIn, from Instagram, and Facebook. So a very warm, hearty welcome to all of you, wishing all of you a very happy International Corrosion Awareness Day. Now, the most important question for today is, why do we celebrate the International Corrosion Awareness Day? And before we actually assembled here, I also tried asking. I got some really good answers as well. But the most important thing about the International Corrosion Awareness Day is the most important figure that everyone talks about, the global annual cost of corrosion. The figure for the global annual cost of corrosion is 2.5 trillion US dollars. 2.5 trillion US dollars. I repeated it not because I suddenly forgot, but I really want you to take a minute and ponder over this particular figure. This is approximately 4 to 5% of the GDP of the industrialized nations only. And if you want me to calculate this in Indian rupees, well, it's very difficult for me to even calculate the zeros right now. It's 192 lakh crore Indian rupees. A very big figure. And at this point of time, I have only spoken about what is calculatable, what we can calculate in terms of money. But the cost of corrosion is not just in terms of money. It has also costed invaluable lives, livelihood, jobs. That is something that is not even calculated because it doesn't have a value. It is invaluable. That is the reason all of us, as a responsible corrosion fraternity, have assembled here. And even online, everyone has connected, because we actually celebrate the International Corrosion Awareness Day by taking an oath. That's the importance of this particular day. It's not just about corrosion awareness, but it's about getting that power, feeling empowered to fight against the enemy called corrosion. And how do we do that? So today, I do not want to set a tone of negativity. This is the day for us corrosion engineers to take it in a positive note about what? Two important things. They're just two important things that I want you to keep in your mind and for the rest of the year. First and foremost, rust never sleeps. Rust never sleeps. The second thing, which is the positive part, is we should keep fighting against corrosion in the smartest possible manner. We should be like that equipped soldier who is able to fight against the menace called corrosion. These are the only two things. And as much as it sounds very nice that, yeah, you need to be equipped, but how do you need to be equipped? That's the question. The answer is, knowledge is power. Education and training, keeping yourself equipped with the latest in the industry. Keep educating yourself. Network, and that's the reason we have all met. I know the last 2 years have been tough for everyone. We have not even connected. We have also faced Zoom fatigue virtually, and that's the reason we have all assembled here. It was not about the delay that was happening right now, but we all want to connect with each other. That is how the human being is. So networking, another aspect of the corrosion fraternity. And that's the reason Association for Materials Protection and Performance and FICCI have jointly organized this for you, so that we all can connect and look for answers against corrosion. The next thing, very important thing, is of course harmonizing the standards internationally, nationally, and ethically meeting the standards so that each one of us can work and have that power to change the cost of corrosion that we talk about every time. Not only reducing the cost, but actually reversing the things that I said, saving lives, saving livelihoods, and saving jobs. That's in your hands. So with that, I want to leave you with that kind of empowerment for today and for the rest of the year. And with that kind of spirit, please, let's network for the rest of the evening. But before that, now I would like to talk about the agenda for the evening. So all of you have already received the agenda. We will have the formal welcome of the guests, further which we'll have a couple of addresses from the AMP board, and of course, the address from the guest of honor as well. And one of the most important aspects of today is the introduction to CorCon, that is Asia's largest corrosion conference and expo. We will be talking about that once we come to that. And of course, there will be an open house discussion on corrosion, which will be moderated by Mr. Tewari. And following which, we'll have the vote of thanks and the dinner and the networking. So with that, the first and foremost, now we shall start off with the formal welcome for our respected guest of honor. I request our NACE past president, Mr. Tushar Jhaveri, sir, to kindly honor our first guest of honor, Ms. Sukla Mistry, ma'am, who is the Director-Refineries. Sir, please, I request the memento please speak. So Sukla Mistry, ma'am, is the first person who has become the director Javed sir, kindly escort Sukla Mistry ma'am to the dais. Thank you so much for your valuable time, ma'am. We are indeed very proud to have you. Ma'am is the first lady director who has come from an inspection background. And we are really proud of you, ma'am, to join us today for these International Corrosion Awareness Day celebrations. I shall read out about ma'am. Ma'am is currently the Director-Refineries for Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Sukla Mistry ma'am is a metallurgical engineer from Bengal Engineering College, Calcutta University, and also holds an advanced diploma in management from ICFAI. She has more than 3 decades of rich experience in refining and petrochemicals operation, having worked at Indian Oil's refineries at Haldia, Panipat, Digboy, and Barauni, as well as the refineries headquarters. Ms. Mistry has extensive experience in execution of various greenfield and brownfield projects in the refineries. Before her elevation as Director-Refineries, she was heading the Barauni refinery in Bihar, where she was instrumental in successfully rolling out BS4, BS6, my mistake please, grade fuels and ethanol blend MS. Ms. Mistry is also a nominee director of Indian Oil on the board of Chennai Petroleum Corporation Limited, Ratnagiri Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited, and IHP Limited. Ms. Mistry has won many awards, notably ET Prime Women Manufacturing and Operational Leadership Award in 2021, Scope Award for Outstanding Woman Manager 2016 to 17, Petrotech Ojaswini Award 2016, and Petrofed Best Woman Executive Award in 2009. So we are, ma'am, we are indeed very proud to have you here. Please put your hands together for ma'am. I also request the AMP board and the executive committee members to come one by one on the dais as per my call. Dr. U. Komachi Madali, who is currently the Vice Chancellor, VIT Bhopal. Sir, kindly, you're requested to kindly come on stage, please. Sir has been the ex-president for AMP India chapter or NACE International Gateway India section as we know it. I also request Mr. A.K. Tewari, I request Atul Joshi, sir, to kindly escort our guests on the dais. So Mr. A.K. Tewari, please put your hands together. Please keep putting your hands together for all of our guests. So Mr. A.K. Tewari is a former ex-director of IOCL. Kindly present the memento, sir. To first, Dr. Mudali. Thank you very much for your valuable time, sir. We are honored to have you here for Mr. Tewari. Please put your hands together. I also request Atul Joshi sir to kindly escort KB Singh sir to on the stage. KB Singh sir is currently the chairman for AMP India chapter. Please put your hands together for sir. Joshi sir, I also request you to kindly escort Tushar sir. Tushar sir is already there on the dais. Yes, please offer the memento to Tushar sir. Please put your hands together for Tushar sir. He has been the past president of NACE International. Kindly present memento to KB Singh sir. And Joshi sir, you also need to escort Manohar Rao sir, who is currently the member at large at AMP India chapter. Please put your hands together for Manohar Rao sir. Thank you very much for your valuable time and for patiently waiting. Now I request Lieutenant Colonel Atul K. Joshi to kindly come on the stage and address all of us on today's occasion. He is the AMP India North Zone President and he shall be addressing all of us. Sir, please.
Thank you, Amarjit. I really beg your pardon for my bad throat because of the climate outside and the dust. So my throat is giving problem for last 4 or 5 days. But anyways, respected Director-Refineries, Indian Oil Corporation, Sukla Mistry ma'am, past President NACE International, Mr. Tushar Javeri, past President, so NACE India, Nigis, Dr. Kamachi Mudali, Member at Large, AMP, Mr. Manohar Rao, Chair, AMP, Mr. KB Singh, Dr. A.K. Tewari, senior officials from industry, executives of AMP, volunteers, and the members who are connected through web. First of all, very good evening and greetings on the occasion of International Corrosion Awareness Day. The matter of fact is, this day is celebrated on 24th April because this day was falling on a Monday. So we planned so that we should make it happen on Friday so that people should come and sit together. And the basic purpose of this day should get the honor. So that is the reason we are celebrating it today. That is on Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, corrosion awareness, the way Amarjit has already explained, is the need of the hour because the kind of money every nation is spending on corrosion is phenomenal. Yes, the figures which have been given by Amarjit are alarming. Organizations like AMP working day and night to educate the people. We are getting good response also, but still there is a lot to work in this field. I am happy to see many faces here who are really working on corrosion aspect to counter this menace. So this is a forum where not only the stalwart of the industry, but the people who are at the education level, in academia, in industry, at working in field, all are here right now. So I believe this is wonderful forum we have right now here. So I request all of you to utilize this evening for the cause which is there for this reason. I just wanted to touch upon what we have done in past 1 year as an AMP North Zone. In past 1 year, we had a one PINCON, that is Pipeline Integrity Conference, followed by almost, I should say, close to 25 technical seminars, and one ILI module, which was wonderfully conducted under the mentorship of Dr. S.S. Gupta. And the response from all of you was phenomenal. And I must thank all of you for the kind of support you are extending. The basic work which we are now going to start is to inculcate the awareness about corrosion to the school level. And the executives of North Zone AMP, they have created certain modules which we are going to host on the YouTube very soon. And those modules are so interactive that even a child of class 3, 4 can understand the problem associated with the corrosion. So two ladies who are sitting here, one is Dr. Jaya Rawat and other is Dr. Arunima Shukla. Apart from other people, they are sitting here. I just wanted both of them to just rise so that everyone should see these ladies along with other members. They have done wonderful jobs. I request these two ladies, please. The moment those modules will be on the web, you all will appreciate. So the kind of dedication people from AMP are giving, so we expect the similar dedication from the people at the school level, at the industry. We are going to have CoreCon 22 from 15 to 17 September. So we expect, and we are sure that support and participation from all of you from the industry will be there. So not taking much of the time, I welcome all of you, sir and ma'am. And we are sure your support and guidance will always enlighten us. And definitely we are going to work for the betterment of, I should say, internationally we are going to work for the betterment of this globe so that we can do away with this menace of corrosion. So thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much for that enlightening talk, President Sir. And now I request our current AMP Chairman Sir, AMP India Chairman Sir, Mr. B Singh, to kindly address all of us. The technical team is requested to put on the presentation. Switch on the presentation, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manjeet. Good evening to all, and I welcome Madam Sukla Mistry to find time to attend this International Corrosion Awareness Day. And I also heartily welcome all the distinguished colleagues of mine who have already been introduced sitting on the dais. And good evening to all the industry members who have found time to attend this 1 hour International Corrosion Awareness Day program. As Amarjeet said, we are all meeting after a gap of 2.5 years, which have been quite painful for the entire humanity. AMP, which was earlier known as NACE, all of you are very familiar with NACE, in April 20, amalgamated, or two organizations merged together, NACE and another global organization, SSPC, and a new organization was born, AMP. So I think so, a lot of you who have been connected in the industry, know NACE. We are all volunteers. NACE is an organization, as I will run through the presentation in about a minute or so, is basically an organization of volunteers who are passionately associated in protecting assets in oil and gas sector. This is how NACE was originally conceived. But today, under the new banner AMP, as I go through it, we are a team of engineers, technologists, academicians, students, leaders from the industry with one sole mission to ensure that the assets do not corrode. The assets survive for the design life for which we all design our refineries, petrochemical plants, water pipelines, oil and gas pipelines. And as the world changes, the environment is changing very fast. Every year we are seeing temperatures going high. Every 1 degree centigrade rise in temperature causes increase in corrosion. All of you are aware of it. So we all have I would say, a responsibility to protect the assets, what we build, what we design. This is the mission of AMP. AMP today is practically, I would say, in about 130 countries around the world. It's an organization of all of us. We are not specifically pinpointing a certain target of engineers. It's basically an association of all volunteers. As I see all my colleagues sitting here, I've been in this industry for 25, 30 years now. We have all grown with this industry. We have seen how India has shaped up over the last 30, 35 years. And today, we are in a very exciting phase of our lifetime when India is accelerating the growth. The phenomenal amount of pipelines what we are laying. Ma'am is aware the amount of refinery expansions what we are seeing, new petrochemical plants being built in India, new water pipelines built in India. One thing is all common. Most of the, what I would say, 95% of the construction is based around carbon steel. And carbon steel is something which corrodes. So that becomes the mission of all of us who are connected with this industry to ensure that carbon steel, which is either in the ground or whether it is above ground, does not corrode, and it gives the intended design life to what it has been designed. So that becomes the basic aim of all of us. So as you see on the slide now, NACE was an organization which was primarily made by a few engineers in US to prevent corrosion by applying cathodic protection. Now, cathodic protection, all of you know, is a technique, which is electrochemical technique by which we can reduce corrosion. SSPC was an organization which was more focused towards coating. And as all of you know, coatings last as good as your surface preparation. So all of us know from the industry that SSPC has a lot of specifications intended on how to clean the steel so that coatings can properly adhere. So both these global organizations were doing great jobs over the last 30, 35, 40 years. We have seen NACE in India, we have seen SSPC in India, and then probably, I think so, somewhere in 2019, both these organization leadership at a global level in US decided that they should merge for the good of the entire humanity, because NACE had built up a huge base of knowledge, SSPC had built a huge base of knowledge, and with the new emerging threats, technologies which are coming up around the globe, I think so it is a very wise decision that the organizations have merged together to serve the needs of the future generations in terms of protecting assets, in terms of protecting environment, in terms of protecting people, because if any of the gas pipelines leak, it will harm environment, it will harm people, and it will obviously harm in the organization also, because catastrophic leaks can destroy the reputation of a organization, can destroy the shares, the wealth of an organization. So corrosion, as my colleague Amarji said, never stops. It is an ongoing affair. We can't stop it because that's Mother Nature. Steel in contact with environment will obviously corrode. What we do as professionals is to limit this corrosion rate. So as professionals, when I go around teaching people, what do we want? We want steel to corrode at less than 0.01 millimeter per year. That's the goal of all of us who are sitting here. How do we do it? Proper surface preparation, proper coatings, proper construction, proper application of cathodic protection. I can go on and on. So AMP today signifies to me and to all of you a common, a huge volunteer base for what? For the following things: education, AMP globally and AMP India in particular for the last 20-25 years have done a good job in providing education at all the levels. And we are continuing to do it. AMP globally is providing certification. All of you are aware of level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 on cathodic protection. We are also now extending probably to refining, water sectors, other sectors as we go forward. So certification is a very, very important aspect of AMP. These certificates are held in high esteem across the globe because certificates are issued based on the knowledge which an individual has acquired, coupled with the training and the examinations which are held by AMP. All of you are aware of NACE and SSPC standards. Globally, these standards are used worldwide, and these standards are getting updated every day. So AMP plays a very important role globally in writing standards which come out from the feedback given by the industry. And these standards then get applied for our daily design construction works. AMP also plays an important global role on public policy. It's a very important thing. Today, the environments are changing. We don't want our waters to get polluted due to leakage in the drinking water system or leakage from a sewer system. So new knowledges are brought in by the teams of or the members of AMP globally, and we then interact with the various governments around the world to bring in the latest of what is coming out in terms of protection on steel, pipelines, refineries, petrochemicals. So AMP plays an important role in determining the public policy around corrosion. And then lastly, on conferences, we do connect. That's how people learn. Today is again a connect program which we are doing after 2 years. We have Corcon, we have NACE international conferences, symposiums. So it plays a very vital role in ensuring that the industry is abreast with the latest technologies, latest innovations, what is happening. AMP structure. AMP is headquartered out of Washington, DC. We have about 40,000 members. In India, we are a chapter. So we are an AMP chapter of AMP US. And AMP chapter is primarily comprising of 1,200 or 1,300 members, what we have. So we are members of AMP, and the members then vote or elect a board. So this year I am the AMP India Chairman. Next year somebody else would be. So we request you that you should actively participate in AMP, and all should aspire to do some good work from an Indian perspective for educating, training, and ensuring that the assets what we are now building are properly protected over the next 25, 30 years. So we come under the East Asia Pacific area around the globe. We have a European chapter, a Latin American chapter, and a West Asia Africa chapter. So you can see AMP is around the globe. One advantage you have when you connect with AMP, you can have a global perspective, you can coordinate, you can talk to your counterparts in various parts of the world to find out what is happening, and then that can be applied in India also. Just 1 minute, there was a study which was in 2011, and this is available. NACE went around the globe and found out that the cost of corrosion is about 3 to 4% of the world GDP. So if I put, Amarjit gave the context of the globe. If I give the context in India, today we are about a $2.7, $2.8 trillion economy. You add 3%. So the cost of corrosion today in India is about $80 billion. So $80 billion is huge. And if the vision of our Prime Minister is to make a $5 trillion economy over the next 7, 8 years, so 3% of is $150 billion. One refinery to build in India probably costs about 10 or 15 billion dollars in today's terms. So if we can, and another interesting fact came out of the impact study that we can save 30% of the cost of corrosion. You can't save $100 billion, which if it is the cost today in India of corrosion, but we can definitely save $30 billion. That means building 9 million ton refineries in India. So knowledge, education, training, certification is absolutely important today. And that is what the role AMP is playing globally. And that's the role what AMP India chapter is playing. And I thank all my distinguished guests who are sitting here and all my colleagues who are sitting. We have all worked over the last 25 years. NACE has done, I would say, a lot of work. I've always been a volunteer for the last 25 years. I think so we need to work with the same zeal. We need leadership from ma'am. We need leadership from the other asset owners, because this is something which is driven from the top. Education, training, certification. The way India is growing today, it's phenomenal. We are adding almost about, I would say, 30% of our refining capacity, spending $35 billion in expanding our refineries, doubling our petrochemical capacity, which will be roughly another $60 billion. We are almost increasing our gas lines by almost about 30,000 kilometers. All of you are aware of CGD. We are laying about 30,000 kilometers of CGD pipelines. If I add all that up, from now to 2028, we will invest close to 150 to $200 billion in building the new infrastructure for India. So all of you can understand the importance of training, corrosion, and that's where AMP India comes in. We are an interface trying to bring the latest technical knowledge to all of you. And my sincere request to all of you is that all of you should volunteer for AMP India. Let's try to see that we can control the corrosion to the extent possible. We can't stop corrosion, but by applying the latest technologies, understanding new standards, understanding new methodologies for blasting, cleaning, I am pretty sure we can go and enhance the capabilities of the engineers in India, technicians in India, craftsmen in India, by AMP India chapter volunteers actively engaging with the industry. So with this, I would basically conclude my talk. I would sincerely request the senior leadership sitting here, the senior leadership sitting there, that all of us should collectively work to ensure that we stop corrosion in India and do our best and be one of the global, I would say, benchmarking countries around the world. We have the talent, we have good engineers in India. We have to train them, because what we see in the last 20-25 years, engineers want to go more towards computer science, towards electronics, IT. Few engineers want to come in this field of corrosion. But I'm sure by exciting the engineers, we have Dr. Kamachi, who has taken a leadership role. He has decided to help Amarjeet and AMP India chapter in encouraging young students from 2-tier, 3 tiers, including IITs, to enter this field. So I hope that our future is bright. And with this, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, KB sir. It was indeed a very enlightening talk. I just want that presentation to be back up. And there was an important slide that I think we should show to the audience. The last one, sir. Just put it in the presentation. That was an important thing that sir had said. And I want, if you can scroll it forward. Just the last slide. That is actually for everyone. That was the conclusive slide that we need to show you. Give us a moment. I want you to just have a look at that. You can read that. That's what sir said. Together we can make a difference. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. So that's what we want you to understand. And that's what sir was trying to explain to you all this time. So yes, each one of you is important. That's what I'll say. And each one of you can make a difference. And with that, we come to our chief guest who has joined us today, taken out her precious and valuable time to join us in these celebrations. I request respected Sukla Mistry ma'am to kindly come on stage and address all of us. Ma'am, we are really proud to have you here. Please put your hands together for ma'am.
Good evening to everyone. First of all, I wish all of you the happy International Corrosion Awareness Day, of course belated. But congratulations to the chairman and the entire team sitting on the dais to organize this program, to percolate the message of very important issue on whom it is being talked about, that is corrosion. Dignitaries on the dais, and all the participants and the participants connected with the webcast today. I'm very happy to share the dais with the stalwarts and experts of Indian industries. The AMP India chapter, which was formerly known as NACE International India section, has been instrumental in creating awareness, enabling industries to strengthen corrosion protection systems. Higher operational availability and reliability of the system has always been the prime focus and the drivers for the industrial growth and its sustenance. Any failure not only results in its immediate loss, but also impact in its long-term and performance. And it says that what can be measured can be managed. Corrosion awareness is one of the most important aspects for ensuring operational availability of the system, and particularly in all industries. And while I do so, it more important in oil and industries where corrosion is the main parameter to talk about. Since 1950s, several countries considered the economic consequences of corrosion. Studies conducted during this time indicated that the cost of the corrosions actually mean the loss of the society. The global cost of the corrosion is estimated to be US dollar 2.5 trillion, as already mentioned already, which is almost like 3.5% of the global GDP. And that study was done in 2013. This also been done once upon a time in 2011 that in India, that has been already mentioned. Now, in this impact study, which has been done, as I said, it shows that there is an effect in the agricultural, on the account of agricultural areas is 6.1% in GDP, while for industry, 4.7%, and for the service sector, it was 3.4%. Profitability of the corrosion control realized repeatedly by the industry with avoidance of costly business interruptions from equipment failures and achieving intended performance from the assets. So the talk is how to manage our own assets, which we are creating regularly and every day. The cost savings from corrosion control is realized over a period of time by all the industries, nationwide as well as countrywide, globally. So the point which has been actually made, emphasized on all these discussions are lower maintenance cost, lower monitoring and inspection cost with higher inspection intervals, fewer failures which saves loss of productions and property damage, decreases environmental releases and improves public relation, life extension of the assets. So there is a need of corrosion management. Now, this corrosion management strategy of Indian oil refineries, I'm not talking about Indian oil refineries, it's a refineries in the country, is based on identification of corrosion threats, life cycle cost analysis, and development of corrosion control strategy with elimination and reduction, inhibition, and protections. And also another part comes material selection and operation control. These are the two factors which is effectively managing the situations. Though we have various systems in place for the corrosion control and monitoring, I would like to share few focused area where we need to further emphasize on. If we see We see that we should work on the development of structures dynamic data based on corrosion laws on different sectors of the Indian industry and Indian economy. We do not have any kind of consolidated process or framework to collect the data. Still, the data are being discretely collected by industry wise, and hardly it is compiled in a very statistical manner. So if the data are not showing the trend, how the corrosion is being affected the society and the asset loss, perhaps the conclusions are would be or conclusion would be also very discrete and inconclusive. Mostly standalone studies and discrete data does not provide the complete sectoral coverage. Institutions like CST, CII, even FICCI, they should take a big lead, according to me, to make a mechanism of collecting data from the industry-wise, the sectors-wise, to make to understand that where we need to focus on. There are some important area where we would really like to need a lot of work to be done. One of the area would be corrosion inhibitors. Even till date, nationally or internationally, we do not have any kind of codes on standards or any framework where the corrosion inhibitor can be standardized. What is there in is basically goes by a proprietary vendor basis. We could work on this particular area. We can make a framework to select how the select the industries or the vendors or the process where the corrosion inhibitors can give a good area of work to reduce the corrosions. There are also no such framework to measure efficiently how the corrosion is taking place while we do those the corrosion inhibitors. The another area is we should work on the development of corrosion inhibitor that produces high energy bonds into the metal. Even till date, we are working on some kind of chemicals which actually based on amine and produces a thick layer, prohibiting the direct contact of the corrosion material to the metal surface. But there are there may be some technology which can develop, which produces a thick bond with the metal and thus does not allow the corrosion materials to come in any way in contact with the metal surfaces. And another one is would be development of chemical formulation of inhibitors to prevent hydrogen evolution at cathodic sites in view of multiple cases of hydrogen blistering in low pH sour water services in the refineries. The sour water services is one of the corrosion service, corrosive material, material which really caused a lot of concern to the petroleum industries, particularly refinery. And it's really an area of concern for all the refiners, how to come out of these particular services. Now, conventional corrosion inhibitors like aluminum polysulfide lacks effectiveness and effectiveness in its performance all through the industries. Now, another point which we need to focus upon is the corrosion modeling. If we talk about corrosions, till date there is no such standard modeling created in our nation or maybe globally. We can create a corrosion model, some kind of which can give a online directions to have how to focus on a particular point. But good news is that there are companies who are producing online corrosion measurement systems, but the daunting task or the challenges coming in this process is that where exactly we are facing the problem. So the location where the corrosion comes, that identification is our job. It doesn't come by any kind of modeling. So we can have certain kind of modeling which can identify those locations to identify to make it more automatic systematic basis for us to help how to protect these areas. Now there is a thinking process to create a computed modeling systems which can proactively identify the areas, the model, and pinpoint the sources of actual corrosion which is taking place. And a development of intelligent modeling for flow assisted corrosion handling dual phase can also be done. And and then another point is very important, which we are regularly seeing, is the corrosion under insulations. And corrosion under insulation has got two parts. One is the corrosions below certain temperature, which may be 150 degree to 175. And another corrosion is corrosion above this temperature. Now, there is actually no consolidated method of painting has come which can protect the piping and equipment which is exposing into a temperature of 150 degrees centigrade technically. Suppose I assume today I developed one painting system which can protect the equipment or the pipeline, and also same time it is also having reduces radiation in the temperature. So there are some startup companies has come up in the market who are producing a thin thick paints which corrodes the pipe, which give the protection to the pipe as well as it is give the insulation properties of the pipe too as well. So that would be a wonderful job if it really performs well and become economic in scale in the market. For the refiners, it would be a great innovations. And there are some organic coatings recently we are using that is majorly built on Novolac epoxy. All of you must be hearing that this painting which we are using under insulation corrosion is not performing very well. So corrosion under insulation always remains a concern. In the refinery, you will be seeing that particularly the old refineries where a lot of pipings are moving into the water, over the time the silt has deposited and the gap is reduced, or maybe the area has lot of things has come up, so there is no gap between the ground level and the pipe is sinking into the water. You can't replace a huge amount of pipe to take care of the corrosions because it is a cost intensive. So in those cases, if I have some kind of a method which can protect really the piping, probably it will be it's a miraculous inventions in our system of corrosions. It suitable develop multi-coated nano ceramic, which I was talking about, which some startup companies are trying to develop, and I think our R&D center is connected with one of the startup company who are doing this nano ceramic, which can protect both insulations as well as corrosion. There's another corrosion which is coming out from which can protect the corrosion is volatile corrosion inhibitor. Suppose I have got a chemical which is injected into the insulation material, and the same insulation material is covered insulating the piping or the equipment, but at the same time it is protecting the equipment also, would be a great invention in our systems. So these are some of the thought process and some of the areas where corrosion is really very dominant, and refiners are suffering lots of things. They found a lot of leakages without any prior notification, and that caused not only the disasters but also caused a lot of asset losses. This can have a havoc into our own systems. Now, another is cathodic protections, which our pipeline is doing very good work. But what is importantly required is the cathodic protection coating. How much it really works for a longer time or the long tenure under the cathodic when the electricity passes through it, that's very important. Now, if I go about it, the different kind of coating systems are painting, then wrapping coating, and many other systems. But the resistance with the time against the electricity passing through it is very important. Now, we do not have much of study on this, but still wrapping coating system become a popular in our systems. But we can develop some kind of painting which can give without any failure, like becoming so adhered with the surface, it can give even 100 years protected protections into the underground piping for such a longer time. Now, as already Mr. Singh has said, ultimately all this thing can be done to make our team members well educated about the subject, and collective efforts in every corners of the industries. That's very important. While I do so, one very important thing I want to highlight to particularly Mr. Singh being chairman of this reputed institutions is that data is very, very important, because data, if it is put into in the form of analysis, that where is the point to be arrested or captured, I think we can develop a lot of system out of the things that where it needs to be done. Another very important thing that while we collect the data, we also need to do how much it is hitting my economy. In general, when the plant runs, we are majorly concentrate on it should not leak. As long as it runs, it should not leak. It should be a continuous operations. But at the same time, we see that if it will leak if you do not do the protective measures in place. So to have this reliability on those systems, we need to have that economics or the total budget or the total capex we are utilizing on this at the time of replacement. So if I have the data vis-a-vis the expenditure at my hand, I think we will be able to give a real impact into the industries and the owner of the industries, that how much reliability can be attained into the industry by reducing the corrosion. So finally, I would say a lot of things are being discussed, being told. It's efforts to be given by collectively by all of us, and how much we are educating not only the schools, but in our own industries, how much educations we are really providing. That's very, very important. So in the industries, particularly where we are dealing with various corrosive services, like in the refineries, we are dealing with sour water services. We are dealing with ethanol, which is also currently ethanol is coming in the market. Ethanol is very corrosive when it comes in contact with the water. So these are very, very serious issues in the area of the corrosion. So a lot of things to be done, lot of collective efforts to be put, lot of data to be collected, lot of analysis required to be done, lot of online modeling to be done. So lot of things to be done into the systems, and there are potential to get many things out of that. So with this, first of all, I once again convey my sincere thanks to the entire team to organize this program. It's a very special day, International Corrosion Awareness Days, and to all of you who have come today in this program to really sincerely getting into the make yourself sensitized about how corrosion is important in our daily life. Finally, it affects the assets, and the asset affects the social life. With this, once again, thank you very much for inviting me and giving this opportunity to speak before you. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, respected ma'am, for that enlightening talk and for the wonderful suggestions and innovative ideas that you have put across to the fraternity, to the corrosion fraternity sitting here related to corrosion inhibitors and the modeling, which is definitely very innovative idea. And we as a corrosion fraternity will definitely look into those kind of aspects. That's the reason we have all assembled here. And thank you very much once again, ma'am. And with that, we come to the next thing in our event. One of the most important things that we have been talking about is the corrosion conference, about the networking, the connections that we develop through conferences and expos. And we are glad to tell you that this year we are organizing the CoreCon, or the Corrosion Conference, in Udaipur on 15th, 16th, and 17th September this year. And for this, I would like to call upon the technical chairman, sir, respected Dr. Kamachi Mudali, on stage to give a little introduction about the upcoming CoreCon 2022. Sir, please. Please put your hands together for sir.
Respected Chief Guest, Madam Sukla Mistry, past President of NACE International USA, Mr. Tushar Javeri, my dear senior colleagues from AMP, and all the invitees, the members of AMP, I'm very proud to be here as the technical chair of Corcon 2022 to be held at Udaipur during September 15 to 17, 2022. As we all know that NACE International India section was formed in the year 1992. We are just 3 decades, 30-year-old young man or women, you can say that. And we have grown to that extent. Today, Corcon is the biggest event that happens outside USA in the world. I'm happy to tell you that we get about every year around 1,000 plus delegates, mostly from 70 to 80% from industry. Then we have from research and academic community. And out of the exhibitions, which are normally 100 plus, we get about 30%, more than 30 stalls from the USA. So the technology upgradation, technology transfer seamlessly happens in the Corcon conferences. We also encourage the younger generation. We have a lot of program for students and the young research scholars, because we have to groom the younger generation, the future generation, to understand corrosion and protect our assets, which is one of the, the vision of our AMP. In this edition of Corcon 2022, I am very proud to tell you that the first plenary lecture is going to be given by the Vice Chair of the AMP USA, Dr. Amir Elijah. He has already agreed to come over and deliver the first plenary lecture. It's a very proud thing that I want to tell you. We are also planning to have leading specialists in all the domains of corrosion science, engineering, and technology. Whatever the area that we normally do, cathodic protection, coatings, marine corrosion, corrosion in oil and gas refinery, petrochemical, then corrosion standards. So we will be having all the sessions which will be enriched with the latest developments in the field. But what is very important that I want to tell you is that I am going to introduce 2 new programs or sessions or events in this Corcon 22. There was a wonderful speech by Madam, who excellently summarized how corrosion is playing a pivotal role in the service of the assets in IOCL. And she was also telling about a lot of developments that are happening. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the days gone that you are reading Fontana and Green and Ugly. You feel that you are a corrosion engineer and everything is fine. The latest thing that what we are going to worry today, and let me tell you, after 10 years, let us all remember, corrosion is not going to be a system malfunctioning. Corrosion is not going to be a human error. It is going to be a cyber attack. There is going to be, you can create many union carbide situation where through cyber you can do everything, because with all the globalization in the last 20 years, 25 years, we have gone into a lot of automation. We have gone into a lot of computerization. Everything is, we want automation, everything is to be done, seamlessly. But the danger is that a person can enter into your system. He can make anything possible. Whatever has happened, even today it is disputed whether it is the corporate responsibility or the human sabotage that happened, the methyl isocyanate, reacting to giving such an exothermic runaway reaction. I think chemical engineers will appreciate, leading to more than 5 lakh people instantaneously getting suffering. This can be created by cyber attack. So we are going to have, in fact, I'm very proud to tell, as the Vice Chancellor of now VIT Bhopal University, I have taken responsibility along with our management's blessings, that we have a center for cyber attack studies. And one of the things I have also emphasized, that oil and gas refineries and other industries, we should look into how the assets can be protected without getting this cyber damage. This is very, very important. It's a new dimension in corrosion. It's going to be something phenomenal. And I do not know how we are going to work from now to go back and see where and all we have put computer, where and all we have put automation, where and all we have put this, we are going to do that. So that's an important session we are going to have. But I served 4 decades in nuclear industry. Let me tell you, all our nuclear power plants, not only today, even the future plants that are all coming, everything is wired. The entire control and instrumentation, which is done by the Electronic Corporation of India Limited today, there is no computer involved in our nuclear control systems. Everything is in analog, everything is in our own digital system, which cannot be penetrated. That decision has been taken, but today, you know, we are globalized, so we are going, every industry is doing now all this with cyber support. So cyber can be penetrated. That's a new dimension, new knowledge that has to be taken. Second thing is the inspection is going to be much more difficult. The routine inspection, the whatever that we do, the inspection and maintenance, that cannot be done with the conventional systems. You have to go for drone technologies, you have to go for boat technologies, you are, you know, humanoids, you are, you know, you have to have multiple latest and modern technologies. This is one of the another important session that we are going to have, how we can have modern inspection technology matching with the cyber today that is existing in all over the country. Our enemy nations are waiting to hit India if it is going to a war situation. It is only by cyber. They are not going to do conventional war. So we have to gear up for that. And corrosion is nothing. We think that corrosion means it's a loss of material. Corrosion is going to be release of gas, release of fluid, release of, you know, anything that is dangerous to the environment. That is what we want to protect the assets, protect the people, and protect the environment, which is our motto. So these are going to be some of the, you know, sessions that I am already planning. So this Corrosion 2022 is going to be something phenomenal. It is in a beautiful place, Udaipur. We have a small clipping to show you also. I will be very happy that all of you make effort, and please pass this message to all your colleagues in all the organizations. And there should be a tremendous participation, and also there should be a lot of exhibition. You tell all your suppliers, tell all your inspection agencies, everyone to join there September 15, 16, 17 to have a networking of the recent developments happening in the field of corrosion control and prevention. Thank you very much. I think over to the small video clipping.
Please switch off the lights before playing the video. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And what you see is that is the last physical Corcon we had in Corcon 2019, just before pandemic in Bombay, some of the clippings. And I'm very proud that now the first physical event is going to be after the pandemic 2022 in Udaipur. And it's going to be a wonderful weather, wonderful ambience. And you know, Corcon has its own corporate style. I'm sure that all of you will come and enjoy the conference, both technically and personally in networking. Now it is my proud duty to request our chief guest, Madam Sukla Mistry, to release the brochure for the Corcon 22.
Thank you very much. Indeed, I think we can put our hands together once again, a loud round of applause. We are all going to meet in Udaipur, 15, 16, 17 September, as sir has already highlighted. We have actually had a wonderful discussion all throughout the evening, and even we have come to cyber attacks and sci-fi. That's really going to be interesting, and we are going to really be happy to welcome you all at CoreCon 2022. And with that, we have come to a very important part of the day, the open house discussions. So for that, I would like to request Mr. A.K. Tewari to kindly come on stage and moderate the same. And I request Dr. A.K. Tewari to kindly come on stage. And Chairman, sir, I think we would like to add.
Thank you very much. I've already been introduced. I'm former Executive Director of Indian Oil Corporation, and I'm privileged to be there as a part of you as a moderator during the open house discussion. But before we start the discussion, I would like to request Mr. Bose Babu to come and on the dais and join us. And Mr. Burma from EIL, heading the SMS department. Thank you so much for being, and that definitely before we start the open house discussion in a real sense, definitely I have an honor to make a request to the honorable chief guest of this evening and my very good colleague in the Indian Oil Corporation, Madam Sukla Mistry, that she has elaborated about the corrosion aspects in the refinery in a much details and what are the potential challenges and where we can work it out. We know the corrosion management is a very challenging aspect in the refinery. And it is basically divided, if you see, has elaborated all aspects of the corrosion. I'm not going into details of that, but what, as an industry person, we can understand that it can be divided in basically in the three groups, like crude oil components related corrosion. We are using high TAN crude, high sulfur crudes and other things. Country is importing 85% of requirement of the crude. Definitely we settle for opportunity crudes in a larger way in our refineries. Chemicals used for the refineries, they have their impact on the carbon steel. And third is the environmental factor, what you have brought about the sour water and other things. What are the controllable factors you envisage as the largest refiner of the country, having a capacity of more than 80 million ton, and all the refineries are under expansion, to minimize the corrosion in the refineries, including the specific areas of high temperature corrosion and CUI corrosion and insulation. Industry will be benefited with your answer. So definitely it's my humble request to kindly address these questions to us.
Uh, uh, your question is one part is corrosion under insulations.
Actually, what are the control? Because the crude oil component, chemicals, as well as the environmental factors like sour water, less pH water, and all those things. These are the major component broadly. I have brought out these things. These are the cause of the corrosion, and definitely a lot of technological changes have happened in the country, particularly the corrosion. Not only the prevention as well as the monitoring aspect also. So, what are the factors you see as a because you are leading a team of refineries, you are owning 11 out of the 23 refineries in the country with the largest capacity. So what are the controllable factors you envisage that the largest refiner to minimize the corrosion in the refinery, particularly in high temperature area corrosion and corrosion under insulation?
All these 3 points which you have indicated, one is corrosion under insulations, corrosion at high temperature, and the other part is like if we how we are actually taking care of. Now, as you already have said that we are proceeding with taking crude, using crude, high ten crude, then we are using heavy crudes, high sulfur crude. So we are no longer are looking for Brent crude or light crude. So these are having high sulfur, high tan numbers. So automatically my severity in terms of corrosion is getting increased day by day, and we don't have that. You cannot afford to have those kind of crudes utilized effectively and economically. So obviously corrosion is one of the parameter. Now there are two issues taking place. One part is to be how to change the material selection at the beginning. So when we do for the engineering work or any new projects are coming, we should look into the factor that how the metallurgy selections can be done so that I'm able to give the more durable time to the equipment. So that one of the selection. For example, in sour water systems, which is generally happening in the beginning of in your after desalter of the crude processing, the sour water system which is coming after desalter, we're utilizing heat exchangers of duplex stainless steel. So that is a metallurgy upgradations. And for those kind of things, we do a lot of corrosion inhibitor use or the ammonia dosing into the column top, so that the acids, which is H2S and other acidic material generated at the top of the column, can be neutralized by ammonia. Ammonia, why we are dosing? Because ammonia, when you inject, it forms a vapor, and I want to neutralize the corrosive product which is in vapor form in the column top. Column top is a crude column top, main distillation column top. We want to effectively neutralize by putting a chemical which can vaporize at that temperature. So two vapors are mixing together and neutralizing each other. There are another dosing element which I have already explained. In general, we are using amine, thick amine products which dosed, and it creates a layer on the top of the trays and thus on the surfaces of the metal, and thus reduces corrosions. But as we go for high tan or high sulfur crude, we have implemented online corrosion monitoring devices. So what it does do is that you have to put some probes at a very critical locations which you have to identify by your own analysis, and put the probe over there, and it will continuously do the ultrasonic thickness survey and give you the corrosion rate, calculated corrosion rate in your dashboard. So you are able to get the corrosion rate, real-time corrosion rate happening in online situations. Already 5 out of 10 refineries, we have implemented this system, 3 of our refineries, and other refineries are still in the process of implementations. So majorly we are doing, these are the processes we are doing on regular basis, but as far as high temperature concerned, the metallurgical solution is the only solutions. That is, you go for the metallurgy of high chromium nickel, maybe P91, majorly is a popular metallurgy these days. Is any high temperature metallurgy, even today if you talk about the high steam pressure boilers, or you can say super the boilers which are operating at a pressure of 250 kg, 300 kg. So that because you get a higher efficiency at your turbine.
Yeah.
So in those cases, temperature is also equally high, pressure is also equally high, and we are choosing a metallurgy called P91. So P91 metallurgy is the best metallurgy suiting to it, but P91 is very, very costly, and P91 has got a very tedious procedure at the time of fabrication. It's a time-consuming procedure during the fabrication, but that's a best metallurgy selected ever. And I think that's a one toughest metallurgy the metallurgists are facing during the time of fabrication. So that is what it is done. Otherwise, you have like when it is too corrosive, we have a very popularly known Incolloy and Inconel that is normally being used in most of the services, which is extremely dominated by nickel, and corrosion is reduced. So these are the prominently metallurgy materials of different metallurgy we are using in our refinery services. Besides, the most important thing which is utilized for the under insulation corrosion is your coating, which we are doing. So now coating is a very is an area where a lot of exercise, lot of R&D is going on over the years. Now today's you see the coating, most of the cases we are using ethyl zinc silicate paint. Now ethyl zinc silicate paint contains almost like 80% zinc. So in the fabrication stage or the project stage, we are using ethyl zinc silicate paint followed by some epoxy coating, which gives a good protections. But still we require to do lot of research to improve the services in under corrosions in the paint. So we are time to time we are doing it. One important area I want to tell in that area is that we need to have a painting which can be painted onto the corroded surface. Like while you do the fabrication for the project, you have the pipe isolated place, you can do the sandblasting followed by painting and then putting it back into the positions for erections. But suppose the pipe is under operation, you cannot do the sandblasting there. So we want a very effective paint which can without such kind of aggressive cleaning which is done by sandblasting, it's just manual cleaning or brush cleaning, ST3 cleaning, what is called is ST3 cleaning.
Yeah.
You can utilize, you should have a paint which can give a longer life to those material. There are some Berger and Asian Paints has made some kind of thing, but it was not very successful. So we need to do a lot of R&D on those areas, that without sandblasting, I can have a paint which can protect the surface which is already corroded. I think someone from EIL can be able to explain better on this matter, because they do a lot of exercise on this matter. So otherwise, these are the three major areas where we take care of as far as corrosion is concerned.
Thank you so much for the valued input you have given in the form of a answer. One small question before, I know your time is very short and I'll not be taking much time of yours. I understand that as a ex-IOCL that training is a very essential component and definitely too much emphasis is given. But the technology, material, coating, corrosion inhibitors, all the components are changing continuously. So our workforce, particularly grassroots working personals, are ready in a corrosion understanding training awareness program, particularly some of the fabricators and outsourcing components like contractors and other things which we often work for carrying out our job. Are we taking some initiative for training of those workforce, including our own people, so that the awareness at every level is there and we are able to emphasize that such unwarranted failures are not happening in the industry?
Your question is a very good question. Why? Because as far as our refinery is concerned,
Sir.
We have a department called inspection department. Even I started my career from that department. So these are purely engineers, and they are aware of all these corrosion issues, and they are being trained at by various organizations. They are being trained by BHL. They are being trained by even under various courses of being organized by EIL. They are also being trained by various painting manufacturers. Besides, we organize a lot of conferences with these painting manufacturers. a lot of things are happening. So people in the inspection departments are well trained in terms of corrosions. But one important point is that we are yet to really educate our contractors on that matters. We just do the specifications, technical specification in the contract document, and contractors are, are to follow that. But as far as education is concerned, probably we haven't done much about it. And that's a very vital point you have raised up, that we can do a lot of educative sessions to those people as to how it can be improved upon. For example, I in my experience, I have seen that how this education really important. Now, as just I mentioned that in general in the project, new project when project comes, new equipment, new pipings are coming. So there is that EIL pending specification. It should be primary paint will be a primary paint is ethyl zinc silicate, followed by one intermediate coat, and then final coat epoxy coat. And this ethyl zinc silicate painting is very important. As I said, it contains almost like 80% zinc. It's basically zinc coating, which everybody knows is a sacrificial anodes. Now, what contractor is doing, he does do the fabrications, he does do the sandblasting and do the ethyl zinc silicate painting. And those primer coated pipes are lying down months together. And then you take those pipes and erect it. And after that, after 1 year or something like this, you are doing the final painting. But believe me, if you ethyl zinc silicate coating is susceptible to absorb lot of moisture while it is there in the open air, and that water moisture goes into the porosity of the coating, and the life of the coating get immediately diluted immediately. So what you should do, that we should do the painting, primer painting, followed by either intermediate coating or the final paint, both together, and then do the erection, so that you get the intended life which is desired by giving the zinc coating. But a contractor does not know. Contractor knows that he has to do the painting, so he does do his painting. He does do the primer coating, he does do the mid coating, he also do the final coating. But engineers know if they do the education to those contractors that this is the way it gives the protections, probably they will be inspired, or they will be motivated to that do the painting also. So what I personally did, instead of depending on the contractor laborers, I have given my specifications in the contract document that you have to do the fabrications with the final coating, then you do the erections. So in the erections, if some damages are taking place in the final paint, you can do little bit of patch repair over there. But in terms of protections, you are getting the major protections from out of that. So that becomes a now process. Now, had I been educating the contractors, probably this could be avoided. But sometimes contractors goes by his own economy. He doesn't go by listen to you. Education probably has a big role to improve upon this, and that's a vital point. I agree with you. We have to start that part.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes. I have some question for Mr. Bose, who has been a very long pipeline personnel too. And I'm also part of the pipeline for an industry for nearly 40 years now. You are having so many challenges, because particularly if you see the CGD network, trunk pipeline, right of way and other things, has certain discretion is there, certain selection of these things are there, and monitoring mechanism and other things are different. In a CGD network, which is not only managed through the leading oil companies like IOCL, FICCI, GAIL or something, in addition to that, many small players are also working. Every CGD network, if you see that 50 to 60 or somewhere about 70 to 90 kilometers length of carbon steel pipelines are there, which is crisscrossing, and so many problems like interference and other facilities, they are also encountering that AC/DC interference and other crisscrossing certain metal structures. In a country like ours, where the economy also plays a very, very vital role, particularly in case of a CGD, the bidding process and other things, how do you feel that this corrosion management in this sector would be really effective in the country to the extent so that we can minimize the consequence of failure of the methane leakage or natural gas leakage to the system?
I think we had opened up a big debate issue. First of all, industry point of view, corrosion is neglected everywhere, because primarily I can see that today, especially when we talk about the CGD, people add few mm of corrosion allowance and they think that I think the line is protected. I think which is a wrong assumption, because you add whatever it may be. If you are not having protection properly, I think it will get corroded. It is not going to last anyway. So there is a misconception and there is no clarity on that, number one. Number two, when we are starting the protection, that is the big issue. It's nowhere written. No codes talk about it. And people are not ready to protect. It is there. I think today, at least I can say that I think India, for specifications and the requirements or standards are really very good. But that is only the specification on paper. It's a big challenge for implementation. What type of quality of the CP, especially the contractors we have today in India? It's a big question mark. And the main question is to the pipeline owners. I can just put it as an open, that's what I'm saying, it's a big debate open. What the owners want, they want a quality or they want a certificate. Let me put it very clearly. The reality is that we want a certificate. So the problems being faced later on, because I'm coming from the pipeline integrity background. The integrity is talk about entire the health of the pipeline throughout its life. And again, it's a debatable. So people talking about design life. I don't know, because I've been facing this question, so many conferences, so many workshops, so many training programs. I can say that I think there is no end of life for the pipeline. As long as you protect, you take care of right from the survey, entire chain of activities. I'm sure because you can continue as long as you can. Only wherever you have problems, you have to attend that and put it properly. So now I think to conclude the point very clearly, I think we need to have a joint responsibility to see that our infrastructure of our country to sustain long term. I think there is a role of each and everyone, the owner, the contractors, the CP agencies, the consultants, and the third party. Everybody has to come together. Otherwise, I'm telling, because either you want a quality or you want a certificate, you decide. So it's only a matter of saving money now and spending more later on. So I think I'm sure the message is very clear. So I don't need to express too much. I don't take much examples. I've seen it's really a disaster that I think I've seen, because people are not even concerned about it. But it is a tender. It is there in the contract. It says that contractor has to do it. But the contract is not doing. But what happened after that? Whatever the damage happened, it happened. You do protection after 3 years. So what is the meaning?
Thank you.
So I think with this, I think I can say that I think we can discuss offline.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Boss, I have one small question related to that, because you have been a project person throughout the pipelines and gas industry in general or something. So my question is simply regarding the gas pipeline design and other things are very typical. Regarding the material selection and design aspect, I'll refer the matter to Mr. Verma. But regarding, I'm asking you about the certain practical aspect of this project management regarding how do you foresee that, because of why I'm particularly emphasizing the gas pipeline, because the thickness of the gas pipeline is higher one way, another 31.8 as per the classification of areas, you go on increasing the thickness from safety angle. So what are the technology and resources available in the country, capability of existing pipeline construction companies in India, supervision companies, as well as the PMC providers and challenges, and monitoring mechanism are effective considering the quality, safety, reliability, and then of course, bottom line is no cost overrun and no time overrun for the project. What are your views on that? Whether these groups are available in the country?
As far as this design aspect are there, I mean, we have to be, there are 3 stages. We have to do a proper material selection, as ma'am also told. And the second is right application of the material as well as coating or installation or painting, whatever is selected. And the third is monitoring part. The monitoring part has to be very due diligently, it has to be done. And as other members are also saying that corrosion is one of the neglected aspects. So especially with respect to CP, we find it has to be properly monitored. And just to give a small example, we found that in one of the assets in our west, one of the ONGC assets, I mean, around 6,000 kilometers of line is unprotected for last, rather unmonitored for last 20, 25, 30 years. And it has come to a stage then right now what to do. So not only design, I mean to say we need to have proper monitoring and proper upkeep and maintenance of the system with respect to corrosion. And that is the only way we can protect our assets and have a prolonged life. So it's a combined effect, a combined effort, right from design till monitoring and application.
Okay. Thank you very much. Because you deal with the design, I'd like to bring just for a small reference and possibly you can enlighten the industry in general, that say molded bullet. Earlier, when we joined the organization on industry, that used to be the vertical above ground vertical spheres for storage of the LPG. And we have from safety angle and so many other angles, we decided to go for a mounted bullet, whether it is covered with the earth mound or some sand mound or something like that. The thickness of mound is definitely considered as per the design for 20, 30 years or 30 years or so, or more than that. But I have come to know about some of the, I'm not a specialist of the coating, so possibly you'll be able to enlighten a better way. And definitely the cathodic protection is also provided to these mold. But I have come across the failure of some mold coating. And in one of the specific case, the 20 mm thickness reduced within a decade to the 4 mm thickness with the coating and other things already specified. So can you please elaborate that, because the LPG, particularly very important is that 50% LPG also we are importing in the country, in addition to that 50% of the natural gas as we are importing presently now. So definitely once we are importing the 50% LPG, the storage, distribution, transportation assumes a greater significance. From that angle, the storage becomes vulnerable. So I wanted to have your views on that.
Actually, it again, as far as molded bullets are concerned, it is again the maintenance of the, mainly the CP. In one of the case studies, we found that it has got corroded, one of the molded bullet got corroded at the bottom. And as a, I mean, say information to all over the stalwarts of the industry also, we devised a way of internally repairing the mold without internally repairing the bullet without opening, cutting the mold. This is one of the case studies we did, and it has been lauded in the industry. So again, it basically again comes down to that monitoring, proper monitoring and maintenance of the protective system which we installed at the design stage. So that is the thing.
Thank you very much. One small question, because the pipeline presently about 50,000 kilometers, 48 to 50,000 kilometers, and we are continuously expanding and likely to touch the figure. I'm talking of cross-country pipeline alone, likely to touch about 75 to 80,000 kilometers within a couple of years. That much pipelines are under construction, both gas as well as the oil pipeline, crude oil pipelines, and also. During the construction, because once the pipeline is offsite, we are constructing, there are a lot of challenges in the corrosion management during the construction stage. Whether Bose Babu would like to address this question, because I have seen in some of the CGD also the temporary CP started, which is normally supposed to be about 6 months, 3 years or 5 years later still working, and nobody has seen the condition of a node or something like that. So what are the challenges in this area do you feel then?
I think the challenges, I think mainly CGD is more compared to the pipelines, but at the same time, pipelines also have its own inherent problems. Say, for example, the scope of the CP, either in the contractor scope or is independent. So that is also sometimes is caused a serious problems because there is a mismatch of mobilization and doing activities. Somebody is burying and then going away, and then these people will come later on. They keep excavating again, putting their anodes. Sometimes they don't have, because you can't have the continuous lowering in any way. So you leave in between. So some section is never have a protection. In the documentation, you say that I think so many anodes have been done, but some section no anodes. So how it will be protected? It doesn't have continuity. So these are all cross country. We have a problem because of ROI issues. We can't really stop in any way. So we have to progress. The client wants to progress. We stop it. I think you jump to some other location. So there are several locations which is unprotected for a long time because there is no proper monitoring. I think the big pipelines, especially 500 kilometers, 700 kilometers line, it takes 1.5 years to 2 years to complete, and sometimes more also. So what happened during these 3 years? Because 3 years is a long period. Something is buried the day one and is lying without permanent CP. Permanent CP happened even almost 5 years also. So I think we have to leave. That's what I'm saying. We have to see that, I think, because the owners want a quality. They have to question whether we are achieving the quality or not. If they say that, I think, okay, you give certificate by EL or CL or somebody, so you may get it, but that is enough or not. Unless until owner want, I want the quality. So please make sure, and then there is a proper check. I'm sure because this question will remain unanswered.
Thank you very much.
I'll just add one thing. Finally, it all adds up to education, training, and certification.
Right.
So what we have heard, we are building assets, but then the people need to be trained, contractors have to be trained, and that's why AMP is there facilitating this training progress.
I have one question to the AMP chairman, present chairman, Mr. KB Singh also. In a pipeline scenario, it has become rather more, I am using the wrong word, maybe a little more fashionable to go for SDD crossing rather than open cut crossing, even when the open cuts are already possible. We take a full precautions, like we go for a higher thickness of the pipeline, we put 3LP coating or something like that. But I have come across in certain segments in my pipeline life itself that within a couple of years, some beneath the SDD, whether the depth is also very high and will not be able to approach very frequently, some corrosion has taken place, localized corrosion I am talking, in the pipeline, and in one of two cases we have to even replace the SDD to carry out the services. What precautions the country can take possibly, because SDD is a very, very common aspect, and additionally the case crossing also sometimes it is unavoidable because even the railways have permitted to go for SDD, but sometimes even the case crossings are unavoidable. What type of precautions we can take while crossing such methodology of the pipeline? Can you please elaborate the industry?
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Tewari. Thanks for the question. HDD is a big challenge. As all of you know, we are doing much more HDDs than what we were doing about 10 years back. So today, for every 100 kilometer of pipeline what we lay, India lays almost about 20% pipelines by HDD because we don't have access for open cut. Now, the challenge what we have today is we drill the pipe, but in many of the locations, we can't do our conventional surveys. We can't do DCVG, we can't do CIPL. So the stress or the final onus to check the integrity lies on soon after completing the HDD. We need to conduct a proper current drainage test. If these tests are not performed properly, we don't know what are the damages which have occurred when we are drilling the pipe. So my request to the team and to the industry is that we need to follow. AMP has some very good standards how to conduct current drainage or coating conductance tests soon after HDD has been completed. That should be incorporated. The right coating resistivity figure should be found out. And then only the owners or the inspector should sign off. Yes, the HDD has been completed properly. Otherwise, during the operation stage, we only come to know that that the steel is corroding when you do an ILI. Above ground techniques cannot work. Similarly, on case crossings, which we are trying to eliminate today, there are a lot of challenges. Water goes in. So again, everything boils down, sir, to the construction part. We need to be very clear that the construction is done properly. The contractor should be properly trained when we do these elements of the cross-country pipeline, which are not then available to an asset owner for doing regular maintenance. That's all.
Thank you very, thanks a lot. Shall we?
Yes,
Okay. So with this, since Madam has to leave.
I
the
just
chief
want to put one question to everyone. That's a recent challenge to all of you. You can have a look. The hydrogen is coming in the process of coming. Now, perhaps we'll find a day that its energy is coming only from the energy. So it's not the above ground storage or above ground piping, but maybe we have to go for underground piping like natural gas or other transportation fuel. Maybe we have to lay another line which will carry hydrogen from one part of the country to other part. Now, what would be the protection method for hydrogen transportation systems? That's a big question today. I was hearing some news that in USA, they have converted the natural gas line into hydrogen line. But then if you have a hydrogen with a 100% purity, the hydrogen penetrations or that, what is it called? Blistering and hydrogen stress relieving, all these things, lower temperature, but still penetration of hydrogen would be there into the metal. So what would be the best metallurgy and best protection method? Now, if the metallurgy is considered, carbon steel would be the best metallurgy because that's a most economic scale of material and all. So what should be the best protection method for that hydrogen transportations when we would be in a situation that hydrogen would be actually the major part of the energy energy of the country? So what would be the best way to protect the pipeline? So if anyone have got any idea or maybe something more can be reviewed. That's an important area to be explored.
Mr. Verma, can you put some light on that?
Actually, I just wanted to put it in another way. I mean, we are exploring with the present MOC of the pipeline, how much hydrogen can be put into the same pipeline. So, I mean, it's a rough figure which we have presently, I mean, estimated to say up to 5 to 10% we have arrived, but we are still exploring with the existing MOC of say up to X52 rating. We can easily go up to that. Beyond that, studies are going on. IOCL is dedicatedly working on it with a few labs. We are working on it. How much more hydrogen can be injected in the same pipeline? What ma'am is telling that with higher percentage, what MOC, that is another next stage of that. So we are working on that also.
Thank you.
No, this is working. The main problem is that whichever the published paper is there till today, they are only talking about that up to the bill up to 42, the
80%.
KSI. That is the strength of the pipeline. Still, it is a safe. So this is the whatever the hydrogen is dissociation and the hydrogen embettlement. It is not the blistering of the kind of the, but actually theory is also not established. You can go through any papers or any literatures. So the published paper, they are telling the low strength pipeline, which has been used, it is used as a carbon steel is a safe. There is a no problem. But the higher strength, there is a chance of this hydrogen embettlement. Now in the recent project, which is GAIL is doing that, most of the pipeline in India, GAIL pipeline are the 70 KSI, because the advantage of this, once you use for a high strength, pipeline thickness will be less. So that is the advantage. So since there is no data, so that's why there is something we are trying to get some laboratory testing, what will be the effect. But if you really think this, nowhere it is published, actually how the hydrogen embettlement is occurring.
Can't you go for any internal painting?
Internal painting for what?
Ma'am, I'll add there. So there's a lot of research going around. Ma'am is right. Companies are looking in on existing X70 pipes, X70 grade.
No, internal piping,
internal plastic lining, so that the hydrogen doesn't come in contact with steel. A lot of work is going around there.
No, internal, if you do the internal coating, So first time you can assure there is 100% of the coating that is intact. But how do you know after some time that will be not the pinholes or the holidays?
A lot of work
So
is going
when
around.
because hydrogen is the smallest atom,
Right, that-
so the hydrogen can accumulate there. So the painting is also not a safe.
So that's why I thought what ma'am said was.
So that's
there's
what
a lot
I'm
of research
saying,
there.
because it's tomorrow's,
Yeah.
when we talk about hydrogen,
Yeah.
maybe a time will come like we're looking for green hydrogen, so that will be reducing, net zero situations that's looking for. So what I'm meaning to say, I think this is a time to going deep into the subject that, these days, as you rightly said, we are even it was EIL specification is that we are doing the internal painting of the piping in cooling water services which are underground. There are some services, water is very corrosive, and we are doing some kind of painting internally to increase the life. Okay, what we didn't have, that we are still scared whether the internal painting is completely complete or without any kind of defect. So that's basically challenge, that if I developed some kind of technology which will ensure me that there is the painting can be fully proven, without any kind of defect, probably we will be able to handle hydrogen in a better way.
So far, there is a no coating has been developed so that the hydrogen can be protected. Another thing is you have to understand that the hydrogen is the smallest atom. So when this high pressure hydrogen is dissociated, if there is a spin hole, that hydrogen can diffuse with the pressure in the metal, carbon steel metal. So that will be very risky. So far, whichever is being used, it is only the raw carbon steel material. Another thing is that the limitation of the pressure, because that dissociation will be less and safely, that is up to 52 PSI, that KSI strength of the pipeline, it has been successfully used. Another thing, sir, what madam I want to tell you, that India, when there is a lot of gas, we should think about the blue hydrogen rather than the green hydrogen. Because if you see this thing, the green hydrogen cost is will be 1.5 times higher than the blue hydrogen. So we can think for the blue hydrogen because a lot of gases are there.
That's okay.
Okay, I mean, you are
Definitely
right,
these
blue and green.
ones.
If you want to achieve net zero, at some point of time, you have to go to green, because even blue hydrogen is also very costly.
Yeah.
Blue hydrogen is also very costly. You have to have CCUS and all other things, which requires a lot of investment. There are a lot of, I know this is again economic of scale to come to play, both blue as well as or green. Yeah, as it grow large scale, like you must be aware of that. In our country now, a company is saying that they will be going by 1:1:1 green hydrogen. 1 kg, $1 cost would be green hydrogen cost of $1 per kg in a decade. 1:1:1. That's floating now. So it not a surprise tomorrow that we'll be getting green hydrogen, which is more or less close to today's blue hydrogen cost or gray hydrogen cost. So those things would be coming in when it is increasing, going to economical scale on a larger productions, that they had that those days are not very far off from today. A lot of exercise are going on in and around. So it
So
would
the
be.
sources of gas is
Even our
available
own
there.
government has declared 2:1. Even our own government has declared 2:1. It means $2 per kg in a decade.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a very
I only just want to
encouraging.
add that it's not something new, hydrogen barrier coatings. Let me tell you that tritium is one of the isotope of hydrogen, which is the biggest problem in nuclear industry, including the nuclear fusion.
Yes.
There are outstanding coating technologies commercially available for tritium barrier. Okay, and this can be used for hydrogen. There is no problem in that.
The
Of course,
application
you
is
have to
important.
pay. You have to pay.
the low carbon alloys are being put worldwide. And the third is from electrical perspective, counting requirements are very much to be studied, designed properly. Otherwise, the ground resistance required across the fringes or at the pipe, etc. They could be very low. Otherwise, the statistics are going to act as
Thank you very much for the meaningful debate. And I'm really underline the value addition by the dignitaries sitting on the dais. I'm really grateful to the chief guest for giving the time and for to us and enlightening us on this subject. I'm grateful to the other speakers and dignitaries on that. With this, I close this discussion here and I invite my colleague for the further proceedings.
So our chief guest will be leaving. That's the reason we'll have to close the discussions at this point. I request everyone to kindly stand up and give a loud round of applause for ma'am for coming in and joining us for International Corrosion Awareness Day celebrations. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your valuable time. Just a quick group photograph. Thank you very much, ma'am, once again for a wonderful, wonderful, innovative talks and for lighting bulbs in our heads with new technologies that we had been talking about. So we shall be proceeding with the vote of thanks. I request ladies and gentlemen to kindly be seated. We shall be proceeding with the vote of thanks before the dinner and networking. So just another 5 minutes, please, audience. Now I request the vote of thanks to be extended by AMP India North Zone Secretary, Ms. Nivedita Bhattacharya, who is the General Manager for Corrosion and Catholic Protection, SMMS EIL. Ma'am, please.
Distinguished guests, speakers, panelists, students, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. It is my privilege and honor to have been asked to propose vote of thanks on the concluding meeting on the celebration of International Corrosion Awareness Day, ICAD 2022 by Association for Materials Protection and Performance, AMPS India Chapter and Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. I, Nivedita H. Bhattacharya, extend a very sincere thanks to our chief guest, Director-Refineries Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Ms. Sukla Mistry, for inaugurating the International Corrosion Awareness Day 2022, as well as extending her courtesy and good wishes. It is said, well begun is half done. So it fits to the Corcon 2022. We are sure that all the dignitaries will be kind to encourage the fraternity for the success of Corcon 2022 and taking out time from their extremely busy schedule. Their esteemed presence has been a big moral booster for not to all of us, but to the entire industrial fraternity. I would like to thank NACE past president, Mr. Tushar Javeri, NACE India past chairman, Dr. Kamachi Mudali, and AMPP India member at large, Mr. Manoharan Rao, and all other board members, mentor AMPP Dr. A.K. Tewari, Mr. Bose Babu, and Mr. U.K. Verma CGM EIL for extending good wishes for the success of Association for Material Protection and Performance, AMP India Chapter. I would also like to express my gratitude to Mr. B Singh AMP India Chairman, Lieutenant Colonel Atul Kumar Joshi, AMP India President, for their energetic, forward-looking and positive efforts to make a difference right from academia to corporates, for contributing to the betterment of the society. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to students, industry people, AMP team members and supporters, and people joined virtually and physically who have taken out their valuable time and participated in this Corrosion Awareness Day with a sense of gratitude for service in the field of corrosion. Your efforts amounts to national service. Please give a big round of applause for yourself. It is an honor to be associated with such great team members of AMP India chapter who have relentlessly and untiringly working towards the success of mitigation of corrosion and making India become a corrosion-free country. With the global realization of importance of self-reliance, the ICAD has given confidence to all the stakeholders in corrosion industry regarding strength of indigenous knowledge and expertise. I want to make special mention of efforts of Ms. Amarjit, Mr. Manoj, Mr. Rishikesh for their relentless contribution for making International Corrosion Awareness Day to see light of the day. Last but not the least, I thank all invitees, members and students who have joined us for this International Corrosion Awareness Day. I hope that more and more people will take up the challenges posed by corrosion and contribute with their innovations and regular participation in future AMP India chapter activities. Now you all are invited to join us for dinner here and have a safe journey back home. Thank you very much and wishing you all very happy weekend. Thank you.